Welcome to the Summer of Best Ball with yours truly, Justin Herzig. All throughout the summer, I'll be hosting Underdog Best Ball streams and bringing on some special guests. You can catch us every Tuesday, Thursday, live on the Establish the Run channel, hosted in partnership with the Owners Club, a new way to play best ball and fantasy football. And today, we have one of my favorites joining us, a man that spends his free time telling sex jokes on the internet. An entrepreneur that specializes in helping couples get the choice of gender for their babies. A converted cash game to GPP bro after taking down $200K last year. And the man that inspired me to join ETR, Mr. Adam Levitan. How is it going?
You know, it's funny. We're in this deep bear market. You know what never loses value? You know what never goes down 80% in a month? Sex jokes on the internet, buddy. So I just, for anybody out there who's looking to say, hey, you know, what can I do? The markets, I can't take it. They go up, they go down. I can't time them. Sex jokes on the internet never go out of style, buddy. So there's no cycles. There's no cycles in sex jokes.
Now, is there a way that every time I tweeted a sex joke, I could get some kind of like coin? Like, can we find a way to monetize this? You know, we can put you at the top of this pyramid scheme. I mean, the top of the triangle, and there's got to be some fun ways to bring in the community and create that shared value in a Web3 ethos.
That never crossed my mind, to be honest. I can barely, as you can see behind me, I can barely keep the sign together, let alone be involved in Web3. So, yeah, I don't think it's for me. You know, I've thought a lot about this, and I am going to keep all my eggs in one basket and watch that basket very closely. So, I respect and admire everything everybody else is doing out there, moving forward with their lives. I am all in on one basket, and that is sex jokes and daily fantasy sports.
I mean, I love it. You allow others to go take those risks, build out their portfolio, and then you say, hey, when you're ready to invest in something real, you can come invest and establish the run. And here we are.
You know what, man? Businesses that make money are always going to be attractive, you know, and God, I mean, what a mess we're in, Herzig. But we're not here to get down on the markets here today. We're here to draft a winning team. And actually, we were talking before the show, you know, we're going to do this on Justin's account, but you better damn well believe that I am sending Justin $12.50 when this is over, because there's no way in a court of law he's not gonna be able to prove that we shared this team.
All right, don't tell Adam, but if he sends it after the draft, it is no longer legitimate because he knows what happened with the draft and it does not qualify. Therefore, he also qualifies, just like every other guest, that they will be invited to the massive party of a lifetime if we win $1 million on Underdog. Otherwise, maybe we just might let him send in that $12.50 and share this, because we know we are winning this. Because the rule of Underdog Best Ball is you have to draft from St. Petersburg, Florida to win the Best Ball Championship. It is a proven fact. It is 2 for 2. It is the only thing that is 100% in Best Ball. So it's okay. I'm down here in St. Pete right now, so we have a legitimate shot at this.
Yeah, what Justin's actually referring to is he's from St. Petersburg, and also Liam, who hopefully people know who won last year. He's also from St. Petersburg, he told me. So yeah, it's crazy.
He is. We've been trying to get him out to the pickleball contests and try to get a little exercise amongst this hot summer of best ball. Okay, well, we are going to be jumping into draft very shortly. As I get this set up, we're going to go to our favorite segment, 2 truths and 1 lie. Mr. Levitan, what do you have for us in chat? Get those guesses ready. I want to hear from you. Which do you think is the lie?
Okay. I think life, 2 truths and a lie would be more interesting than best ball, 2 truths and a lie. But Justin insisted on being a virgin and going with fantasy football takes. So my 2 truths and a lie are, I believe James Cook will have the highest advance rate among all rookies, not just running backs. Among all rookies, James Cook will have the highest advance rate. I believe Russell Gage will outscore Michael Thomas this year. I believe Christian Watson will lead all Packers wide receivers in fantasy points. So those were 2 truths and a lie. I believe James Cook will have the highest advance rate of all the rookies. I believe Russ Gage will outscore Michael Thomas. I believe Christian Watson will lead Green Bay wide receivers in scoring.
I love it. Let's hear it in chat. Which one is the lie? When he gave me a sneak peek into these yesterday, I had a guess, but I wasn't even sure. One of those is quite bold. One of those, though, I'm just not sure. We're hearing Watson's the lie, Watson's a lie, Watson's a lie, Watson's a lie, Watson. There's a lot of consensus among the crowd. Literally every single person has said Watson so far. Do these people know you that well, or did you pull the ultimate trickery over on them?
Am I ready to reveal?
Let's do it.
Well, sadly, they're right. Watson is the lie. Imagine a dude going from an extremely run-heavy FCS offense to trying to step in for Aaron Rodgers, who notoriously only wants to throw to guys whom he trusts. Randall Cobb is there. He's dusted. Doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers will still throw the ball. Alan Lazard is there. He sucks. Doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers will still throw him the ball. Aaron Jones is there. Robert Tonyan is there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like Romeo Dubes outscored Christian Watson. We have a bet on Christian Watson.
I'm going to cut you off real quick.
Go ahead.
McCaffrey or Cooper Kupp? Who do you want? How do you want to start your draft?
We got the one?
Yeah, we got two. Taylor's gone.
McCaffrey.
Good. I just wanted to make sure. That's the correct answer. Yeah. Now you can go on because I agree. Christian Watson, that would be a stretch. And I think just as interesting as your lie is your truth around the Buffalo backfield.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about advance rates and fantasy points, so not only do I think that James Cook will immediately step in as the passing back for a team, which might lead the entire NFL in pass attempts, right? But then you also, when people draft James Cook from a structural perspective, it's also the kind of way that I like to draft. So I think by saying that James Cook will have the highest advance rate of all rookies, well, you're getting him. I don't know where you get him on Underdog, round 9 or 10 or probably or something like that. I don't know exactly. But if that is a running back that counts a lot for you, I kind of like that setup anyways. And so, yeah, the James Cook one, I think he'll get a share of early down work and all the pass down work, which is obviously really important.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. And this is definitely the only thing that I felt confident about that. This was definitely the free square. Dusty Thomas versus Russell Gage. And the more it looks like Godwin may, take a little more time to get in more opportunities for Russell Gage. And still have that Gronk question. I do like this question, though. Is the leading wide receiver for Green Bay even on the roster yet? Obviously, an allude to either Will Fuller or possibly Julio.
I was talking about that this morning with Leone. Like, we have no Will Fuller news. Like, I'm going to actually take some time and actually really try to find something on Will Fuller because a finger issue has kept this dude out for a year and then kept no team from signing him, even though there's so many teams. Are we on the clock?
No, we're good. We have time.
So the Will Fuller thing is just so weird to me. I mean, so weird to me. I have no idea what could possibly be going on. I don't know how a finger injury kept him out the whole year. I don't know how he's unsigned still. The Julio thing makes more sense to me. I mean, I think the NFL probably thinks he is no longer capable of being a frontline NFL starter. So I'm more interested in taking swings, especially in a format like this, on Will Fuller. I think Will Fuller's ceiling is way higher than Julio Jones at this point, but it's also weirder. Like, I have no idea what's going on with Will Fuller.
Yeah. So I think with Julio also, you could have a little the Gronk tendency where he's a veteran and he's just not rushing to sign anywhere because he doesn't want to go through all of these voluntary workouts and all of that and can find the right situation. With Will Fuller, I was very, very heavy on him early on because I do think his upside just is unmatched. Each day he doesn't sign, I'm slowing down a tiny bit because we need to bake in you go to the extreme. If the day before the season starts, he's not signed, obviously you're not drafting him. So anytime between now and then, we get one step closer to him not being on a team. So I'm a little concerned. I still think he's a great play right now, but my concern is increasing by the day.
What do you think about this pick here in round 1, Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp? I assume that's really non-standard, right?
Yeah, very non-standard. And I think even if that's something you believe in, so that's very similar to my Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey take, where I believe that Christian McCaffrey should be the 1.01. I think the upside he provides is just substantially higher than JT. That said, I'm going to be drafting JT higher than Christian McCaffrey as long as JT's consensus 1.01, because otherwise I'm never going to have it at JT. And it's the same thing with Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp is a better draft pick, but even if you believe Justin Jefferson is the better one, I'm still taking Cooper Kupp. Otherwise, you're not going to end up with any Cooper Kupp if you're drafting JJ above him.
There's some stuff I didn't expect going on here. I mean, that's really high for T. Higgins, right? And CeeDee Lamb in round 1 too, I think is interesting as well. I assume you uploaded our rankings or you have your rankings up or something like that. Let's see what our options are.
Yes. So what I will do before each draft is I bring in the ETR rankings to make sure they are up to date, and then I just kind of adjust maybe the first like 12 picks because I have some little bias there. But overall, I don't take the time to go through all of them. So what we're looking at here is we got some strong RBs available. And then we start getting into that, like I'd say, second tier of wide receivers that have the upside, but definitely have question marks to go with them. Would you like to take a week 17 correlation with Leonard Fournette to match with Christian McCaffrey? Or
I like Leonard Fournette. I'm worried. We can talk about it after, but I would go Fournette there.
Okay.
I do have some concerns about starting RB in this format, but especially because of how weak it is. And it seems like round 3, 4, 5 is not as strong as it was last year at wide receiver position. So
yeah.
In years past, it was like, my God, how many wide receivers can I jam into rounds like 3 through 7? That was the best. I'm not sure that it's like that this year.
And I think like we say RB, but like I think you also should think of these two picks as a package where if you were going to go wide receiver there, what is your next one? Well, you're then going wide receiver again, or you're then, grabbing one of the running backs that you could have. Like, it doesn't make that much sense to worry about, like, unless you're saying, hey, I'm going wide receiver. I don't know. You're not going to, unless you're like reaching on like the tight end aspect. Wow. Now we have an interesting decision.
Nobody wants Kamara because I think he's going to be suspended, right?
Correct. But for a team that you're playing for week 17, you're playing for the tournament. Like, does it matter if he gets suspended for 2 games, 4 games?
All right. If you're okay starting with 3 straight running backs, like a real high T individual, I'm fine with it. It's not normally my priority or my focus, but when it does happen and you're getting a little value here, it lets us say that the rest of the draft's kind of easy. We know we're not drafting another running back for a long time, and we can kind of start hammering these middle zones, what that looks like for kind of wide receivers. Now, we're probably going to be out on either an elite tight end or an elite QB, and that's okay. I know you're kind of off elite QB as well. So it's just interesting how we can kind of think of what the draft's going to look like going forward now that our running back slot is basically done. Yeah, I mean, to be clear on QB, like I'm fine taking a QB in round like 6 through 9. I think when you start taking QB in rounds 3 and 4, there's opportunity cost is so high. And like, I still think I can find top 8, top 6 spike weeks out of other quarterbacks. Like, would it surprise anyone if Hurts or Dak or Burrow or Lance or Russ Wilson, if any of those guys finish among the top 6 or 7 quarterbacks? I would not let my quarterback get to like where Kirk Cousins is the first quarterback I took or something like that. But I just, it's hard for me to pull the trigger. Maybe I'm just stubborn with all the late round quarterback stuff. And I get that it's changed, that the top tier is separated more. But man, I mean, Hurts in round 7 or Josh Allen in round 3, it's just like a no-brainer for me.
It's tough because then you also have that middle, like, okay, Hurts in 7, but like Lamar in late 5, I think I'd rather have that. And like last year, it just worked out so perfectly, that 6th round where you get Lamar, you get Mark Andrews, and the wide receiver dip, the drop really like was substantial. We don't have that as much this year. That 5th round is a bit murky where maybe the wide receivers aren't as great. Maybe like that's where you do take Lamar a round earlier than you would have liked compared to last year and such. I think it's interesting. There's a good couple questions in chat too. First off, we're seeing talk about, do you draft any more RBs? Sergeant Stogie is saying. We have 3. My take I'll start off with is I probably still want to get one more, but like if that one more is James White at the very end or something like Darrell Williams, like I'm okay with it. But I think it's probably worth still getting one more. What would you think?
Oh, I think that you have to play this as if you're right. And so what I mean by that is like, if we're right and the 3 guys we took first all stay healthy, all smash, we're not going to use any other running backs anyways. So like, yeah, obviously it's scary if Kamara ends up suspended or Lenny loses time to Rashad White or Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, but we're betting as if we're right on these 3 guys. And so in best ball, especially, I'm just like, I'm not drafting any contingency plans, I guess is my point.
Yep. Completely agree. And if we ended this draft with just those 3, I think we could be happy. If in the 17th, 18th round, we felt that a 4th running back was better than a 10th wide receiver, that's where we'll be making that decision and see, hey, what's best for our team.
The only thing about this structure is like it blocks you out from like running backs you like. Like I like James Cook in round 10, right? But like we can't really take him. You know what I mean? So like it just blocks you out of guys like that. And if you're doing a lot of drafts like Justin is, obviously that's not as big a deal. But if I was just doing a few and I was like, God, starting like this just blocks me out of like if there's a gross value that I love in round 10 at running back, I still can't take it, you know?
Completely agree. And there's an interesting argument for, because these Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara sometimes fall there, maybe you actually, like hindsight, should have gone Cooper Kupp. And then you have Cooper Kupp with Lenny and Kamara, and now it's a different team, but now you're getting a little more flexibility long term. And that's where, like, I love CMC more than Cooper Kupp, but from a structure wise, that creates some nice teams. Okay, we're obviously not looking at running back. This is where it starts saying, like, hey, you have that Lamar to reach. What are our thoughts on Terry with regards to, maybe a holdout? What are you thinking here?
I think the contract will get done. I think this is a little early for Terry, but we don't have really much of a choice, right? We've kind of locked ourselves in here.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess it's not that early. What are we, 4.1?
It's 2 picks after ADP. I mean, so it's, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I thought we were earlier. Yeah, that's definitely fine. I mean, I've seen places where Terry was going in like end of round 3. I think that's a little early. I think this spot is fine for Terry, yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. So let's start looking again. Now we are looking at, okay, so for tight end, you have nothing on the board relevant. We know we're not looking at running back, so we're really looking here at just QB and wide receiver. So we have Lamar on the board, or do you feel good about any of these wide receivers?
I would say my favorite would probably be DK Metcalf, but I'm fine with Juju as well. Those would be probably the two that I like most. Godwin thing scares me with how long he's going to be out.
Yeah, I think Godwin's going to continue to drop as well throughout this, off season. And so if you're drafting him here 4 spots above ADP, 5 spots above ADP, I think in a month or two, it's going to look like it's even worse. So comparative to the rest of the field, it's not someone I want to be reaching for right now. Although like this morning, I took him when I think he was at like 60, because then I felt that was a strong value.
Yeah. And to be clear I like Juju plenty. I think people underrate just how bad Ben was, and so like a big bounce back for Juju is not that crazy. But yeah, he's gone now anyways. I was going to say that maybe he'd get back to us, but he's gone now anyways.
And so my decision there was a value standpoint of, if we draft DK, we're getting a few picks of ADP while it's reaching about 7 spots for Juju. And so across enough of a portfolio, we also don't have any like Kansas City correlation that we're really aiming for in this draft right now. So I don't think it's like a big miss to, even though projections wise we like Juju more, use this as an opportunity to get a player that otherwise we don't have too much of in DK.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed is it's easy to get Chiefs stacks. Like you can get Chiefs stacks, like, whereas in the past it was like impossible, especially even if you don't get Kelsey now, you can still build Chiefs stacks late for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Sherlock here, he's got Kelsey, Mahomes.
Yeah.
Feels like he reached though on Saquon and Zeke, which makes this a little tougher because I like these 2 picks. I don't think like that's too much of a reach, or if it's a reach at all in Mahomes. But he's got a stack going.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I see Terry is falling. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple guys that like with the news from a wide receiver standpoint. And it's funny, both of the ones that I'm thinking of are in that Washington-Cleveland Week 17 game. But without a doubt, we've seen David Bell falling. Amari Cooper is going to be falling just because the lack of certainty, and the reports are not looking great for the Deshaun Watson. And so as a result, those Cleveland pass catchers need to be dropping. From the Washington side of things, I guess it's mainly just the Terry aspect. But Logan Thomas as well.
Yeah, Logan Thomas' injury is really bad. I mean, not only did he have ACL damage, but other ligaments as well. This is the guy who took Jefferson over Kupp. And I think a lot of people think like this, like, hey, I have to absolutely get a stack. Let me start thinking early. I would rather think of it as, hey, I'm going to take guys that I like best, play the best plays at the beginning, and then start figuring out stacks after that. So I think this is probably not the way I would think about it, where, hey, it's easier to get Kirk Cousins than Matthew Stafford. Let me take Jefferson over Kupp. What do you think if you're only doing like 5 drafts or something? Would you ever think like that, Justin?
Well, I think the top picks are actually the least important to correlate, because your Justin Jefferson, like, he can have a huge season and Kirk Cousins can be kind of average just because it's such concentrated volume. I care more about kind of the stacks with kind of the mid or later tier guys where their success is really dependent upon their QB. And so that's where I'm not going to draft, I'm not going to structure my board around and get rid of an early pick, grabbing Cooper, Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp because of that later stack. And the other is if you're doing enough of these drafts, you're going to have other opportunities to get Justin Jefferson where you're not reaching over Cooper Kupp. Use this time to get that diversification on a player that the consensus is he's a better pick than Justin Jefferson.
All right, what do we got in our queue?
Let's take a look. So just as a refresher, we started with those 3 running backs. We then went double tap a wide receiver with McLaurin and Metcalf. Looking here, the good news is there's a lot of wide receivers at the top of our rankings. I'll do just a quick look on QB. So you got Brady, Burrow. Not really intrigued by much of this here. Anything jump out at you, or does this make sense to double tap wide receiver?
I think it's got to be wide receiver just from a structural perspective. I mean, God, I can't believe Traylon. I mean, everybody assumes Traylon Burks is just as good as AJ Brown. Let's just plug him in, and he's gonna have AJ Brown's numbers. Easy game, right? Like, don't ignore that Traylon Burks could not be as good as AJ Brown. But yeah, I guess we probably have to take him.
Let's do it. I mean, hey, it's okay. Brandon Cooks was already drafted, so you don't have to make that decision.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks is the better pick.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks went actually pick 49. Oof.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Mike, I like Traylon Burks too. Well, we got to pick again here soon.
I have my favorite. Curious to hear if someone jumps out to you. If we're thinking from a stacks wise, like you could go with the Lockett. That's way too much of a reach for me, but I'll keep an eye on Lockett for later on because we're already making the bet on Metcalf.
Yeah, it's just I think Seattle's gonna have multiple different quarterbacks start this year. It's gonna be really hard to stack.
I agree. My pick is Hopkins. He's the kind of guy that I like for this structure where, hey, I accept that he's suspended, but I'm playing for the playoffs. I'm playing for week 17. We're going to have a ton of wide receivers on this team. And so we'll be able to weather the storm of those early ones and just hope he's able to kind of provide us that top of draft upside later on.
Yeah, I dig it.
Obviously, I'm not drafting Hunter Renfrow, Dink.
Hunter Renfrow.
Leone and I kind of got forced into a Hunter Renfrow and got like a Las Vegas mini stack going last draft. Could see Dink smiling from behind the computer. All right.
Back to Traylon Burks though. The assumption that he's going to step in and be the number 1 wide receiver is just, to me, like it's a leap, right? And I get that the opportunity is absolutely massive for Traylon Burks. It's just hard for me to give him like anywhere near the AJ Brown stuff. And AJ Brown wasn't even earning more than like 7 or 8 targets a game anyways, right? And so if you give Traylon Burks 7 or 8 targets, it's like, that would be the high end of his outcomes for me. So I don't know. So I would prefer Brandon Cooks, but no, I'm the only one in the world that prefers Brandon Cooks in the ETR Slack to Traylon Burks.
The only one in the world in the ETR Slack. That's a very specific. I mean, it looks like I know Cooks' ADP has jumped to around this spot, around like 50. So there's definitely either people are getting scared of the asthma of Traylon Burks. People just want that kind of consistency and target share that Brandon Cooks provides. I don't know. So if you're down on Burks, what do you think of Robert Woods?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just fine. I'm just like not excited about an offense that's like goal is to run the ball 40 times in a game anyways, with Ryan Tannehill. And I've actually, the hot take that I think I have is like, I'd rather have Davis Mills at quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. You know what I mean? And like that, to me, that's the take on Brandon Cooks, that like people don't realize that Davis Mills is actually legit good. So, yeah.
Interesting. Does Davis Mills have the rushing upside that Tannehill does?
No, definitely not. I mean, as a thrower for my wide receivers, you know what I mean? So like people give Traylon Burks an edge at quarterback versus Brandon Cooks. I don't think that's right.
I think also from an offensive style and what they're going to need to do to be competitive in games, Houston's going to need to throw more often.
Oh, yeah.
And where Tennessee, like
they don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If they can. Okay.
Where are we at quarterback? I think we might have to take 3 quarterbacks in this draft.
It's interesting because we're looking at potentially a 3 QB, 3 tight end build as well, because we didn't go elite on any of those, and that might give us more incentive to go 3 or obviously at most 4. So with QB, Still a couple guys I like.
Yeah.
We'll,
To me,
we'll
Dak and Lance. To me, it's a teardrop after Dak and Lance. But yeah.
Yeah, and Dak just dropped. Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's a strong teardrop after Rodgers. That Rodgers to Fields, and maybe Fields is just by himself a little. I still have like Stafford and maybe Carr. I mean, we got some people like Leone's very bullish on the Las Vegas passing game. Maybe Carr is able to kind of make it work. It does feel like you need a Aaron Rodgers light season to really make that work, because there's just no rushing upside or floor. All right, so we're getting close. We did have I think we had a question or two from Twitter earlier that wanted to ask. Let's see if I have that available. Yeah, so how many rounds is it? It's quite funny for this draft, but how many rounds is it acceptable to wait on RB? So if you don't draft 3 in a row to start the draft, what's the let's go underdog style, half PPR. What's kind of the latest you feel you can go to that draft? And
I think it can go pretty late. I mean, in this specific format where you're hoping to get running backs that emerge later in the year and carry that weight for you, then like I'd be okay taking my first running back in like, I don't know, around 6 or 7. I don't think that's crazy at all. I bet you would even go later than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think people underestimate that how easy it is to actually advance in the first round of this. Like that's the easiest part of this entire competition is finishing 2 out of 12 in the regular season. Each round of the playoffs is substantially harder is harder than that. I don't know, not substantial, but it is harder than that 2 out of 12. So I'm more willing to say like, hey, maybe I'm just going to be able to draft the right wide receivers that'll carry me. I'm going to be able to find enough of the kind of plug and play running backs. And it really does set you up for that monster team at the end of the year. Okay, here we stand. We
set up the Tony Danny Dimes mini stack. That is the one, man.
That's the fallback. No question there. This team has Russ, no tight end. Do you want to grab Tony here? And then we'll definitely be grabbing a QB or tight end with the other.
I think Tony's my favorite out of the wide receivers there for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. And as you said, it sets us up well for a Danny Dimes later on, which we're going to need at least 2 QBs. Now we're probably going to guarantee ourselves that we need 3 QBs.
Yeah. What's that tight end?
Tight end is Gronk. Dawson Knox. So if we're thinking about from like a correlation standpoint, the McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, you can throw in Gronk for that week 17. We don't have any Buffalo, Cincinnati, so nothing there. Arizona, Atlanta, we have Hopkins. I don't know how much we want to invest in that offense.
Yeah, I'm okay with some of the tight ends there. Like I think Irv Smith and Freiermuth actually have like reasonable chances to be decent. And Ertz is obviously like, we talked about Ertz on the podcast this morning for a while, and that'll be up soon. But the targets last year were eye-opening.
It was pretty crazy.
Gronk.
But in this situation, I mean, we have Gronk at the top of the rankings. I think Gronk has the highest ability out of any of these picks to like finish as a top 5 tight end. And especially the more Godwin risk that we have. And it gives us that continued week 17 game stack. We just need that to be a major shootout.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I do think that like Gronk's going to play. I don't think it's 100% though, is one thing I'd say. Like I think Gronk is like 90% to play or something like that. So people, when they're drafting, should at least we're accepting some risk that Gronk like decides just like, screw it, I'm not playing. I think it's like 90% he plays though.
I think that's fair. And but if you knew he was playing 100%, where do you think he'd be being drafted? Like how much do you think his ADP moves up once we know he's in?
See, I wouldn't. Yeah, his ADP is going to move up a lot. I wouldn't take him where he's going to go once he's like officially in. You know what I mean? Because like I always think that like these old guys who are just playing for the playoffs, it's like you need a lot of efficiency, and obviously he can get it. He can score 10 touchdowns, no problem. But yeah, his ADP is going to go up, and I probably wouldn't take him. So if I was building a portfolio, like you can start taking Gronk now where he is. I wouldn't take him in like, I don't know, round 7 or something.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. And I mean, yeah, we're doing it because even if you don't love the player, there are things about this draft that we love about him, which is one, that correlation. Two is the belief that, his ADP is going to rise. So theoretically, he's a value on a future pick compared to kind of how their drafts will go in the future there. We are, it also gives us maybe an opportunity to stick with just 2 tight ends. Tight end is the lowest scoring position on Underdog. You are able to we've seen many teams make it through where it's just like, hey, you have 2 tight ends that are fine. And because you're not giving up substantial capital, like you're able to survive it. So I think we'll see whether or not we draft a tight end on the next turn. If so, we probably stick with 2. Otherwise, I think, we might be in an interesting 3-3-3-9 situation of 3 running back, 3 QB, 3 tight end, 9 wide receivers. I'm not sure I've ever had that kind of draft, but I'm digging it.
I definitely have. That's yeah, I dig it too. Well, there goes Ertz. I do think that I do like Irv Smith would be the one that sticks out, and I think Freiermuth is okay as well. And I guess people are making a case for Cole Kmet, although that kind of makes me sick. Yeah,
the Cole Kmet one, I just can't see happening with that offense. Like, I don't think like he's going to become a target monster. And even if it is, the denominator, the number of passes that are thrown in that offense is going to be so low. And I think like we are still pretty aggressive on his target share in that offense, but we're just so bearish on that offense as a whole from a passing game that it's dragging him down to below Noah Fant from a projections wise.
Right. Yeah, we have Cole Kmet for like 18% of the targets, which is huge for a tight end. I mean, not many tight ends are getting 18% of the targets, but their offense is like so inefficient and so run heavy that he still doesn't get high in the rankings.
Yeah. All right. So if we do look at QB, just to kind of stay abreast of what's happening here, you are getting Derek Carr falling a bit. We do not have any other, Las Vegas pass catchers. So a naked Derek Carr is not really what we're looking for. Fields naked is more attractive, some people would say. And so that gives you a little more opportunity, just from that upside in the run game. We're going to have an interesting one. You also can potentially grab that Kenny Golladay and strengthen that New York Giants Danny Dimes stack that we're targeting later.
It's really a Brian Daboll stack. Was there any team in this offseason that improved more from a schematic and coaching perspective than the Giants? Like, there can't be, right? And so I understand if people say Danny Dimes can't play, Kenny Golladay sucks, doesn't care anymore. Just like from coaching perspective, my God, I mean, they're going to be so much better.
Yeah. And I mean, we kind of like Daniel Jones coming into last year too. I mean, because his player, profile allows us to get those rushing points. All right. So I'll go through them, but if we're going wide receiver, it feels like it's Golladay. If we're going tight end, do any of these jump out at you? What do you think?
I like Irv the best out of those, but I don't feel strongly about it at all.
Okay. The thing is, like, I think so many of these tight ends are just so similar right now that I'd rather wait, probably past this, grab our Golladay here.
See, one thing I struggle with is now, like, we almost have to have Daniel Jones, right? Like, and what if someone comes, we don't take Daniel Jones here, and someone, for whatever reason, comes up and takes Daniel Jones? I feel like the whole draft is ruined. You know what I mean? And I just wasted an hour of my life. So how do you think about that when you set up a stack? And then, because like, I don't think we can take Daniel Jones this high, can we? And
no.
So if we miss him, then we're fucked, right?
Right. Well, no, but I wouldn't say we're I think this is a child family friendly.
Sorry.
Okay, this is your channel, buddy. No, I wouldn't say that we're screwed, because I actually like doing stacks when I'm not using the QB, because I think there's still positive correlation by making a bet on that team. And even though, like, let's say, so I have Justin Fields start. Are we cool with this? I think we just need a QB that guys does a bit of an upside.
For sure.
But I think even if, like, hey, Daniel Jones has a great year and we've got Golladay, we've got Kadarius Toney, and week 17 comes around and like they both have good weeks. Yeah, Daniel Jones might have a 30-pointer, maybe a 35-pointer, but Justin Fields could also get 28, and like we lost 7 points. Like, it's not, to me, the biggest if you miss on that QB. And also, well, what if you actually get that QB at the value and now you haven't given up on the previous pick? So I think it does outweigh, lean into that uncertainty.
Yeah. Man, it seems like there's a lot of people watching this who are also in the draft. I mean,
that's the best part about it. they know that also what's going to happen is at the end of the draft, we're going to review one of theirs. Usually I like to pick from someone who got the 2 truths and a lie correct, but that didn't help us narrow out anyone. So we'll just do a little random chance. It'll be fun. Yeah, I've been neglecting you in chat. Chat, how have we been? Okay, so let's see. A lot of familiar names. Sergeant Stogie, I'll answer because you asked again another one. I thought Hopkins would be for the opposite strat where you start wide receiver heavy so you don't need production early. I think that's fair as well. I think probably you can talk yourself into any way to get DeAndre Hopkins because at the end of the day, like you're either going to match it with volume and hey, we have 9 wide receivers in this team, or you're going to match it with you have elite players. But for me, if I'm drafting maybe 3 elite wide receivers early on, Hopkins isn't that important to me in the playoffs because I'm already expecting that production to come from those 3 elite wide receivers. In this team, I think it's more important for me to have someone who can provide that elite level production to win in week 17. And that's where a player like DeAndre Hopkins really is essential. So that's kind of where I lean on that part. Yeah, there's a lot of best ball summer going on today. Earlier today, I was with Liam over there, Chess Liam, and he's doing some streams to celebrate his commemorating his lineup from last year that he drafted a year ago, and we'll get him on one of these streams upcoming too to pick his brain on how drafts are going in his mind this year.
There goes Cole Kmet and Freiermuth went.
Okay, so let's take a look. Nope, I don't want to do that. All right, so tight ends, we still have your boy Albert, and we still have your boy Irv. I'm personally pretty high on Tunyon this year. I just think that he's the only one, I guess, besides Lazard that really has that connection with Rodgers, and we saw how efficient he was with touchdown efficiency when he was healthy the year before. If he can actually increase volume between the 20s, like I'm bullish there. I feel good about what we did with wide receivers to play catch up, grabbing those 6, because there's definitely a large drop off around this point for these wide receivers and probably even drops off a little more after like Dotson. We still don't need to worry about running back. So I would say, I think the interesting question will be, do we grab Daniel Jones with pick 146?
Yeah, it's
his
like
ADP's
17 spots. Yeah.
Or do you hope that he falls to you to 167?
Oh, God. See, I would take him because I'm scared, but I kind of feel like it's right to, if you're doing this a lot, I feel like it's right to gamble, but I would probably take him out of just a fear-based thing.
I like to try to think of a 2v2 in the middle of the draft and think, okay, so like if we miss out on him, who's the next QB we would grab and so forth. So starting off here, tight ends. How do you feel about Alberto? How do you feel about, tight end's a little ugly right now.
I think it's hard for Albert O to get there. Robert Tunyon just went, yeah. I think it's hard for Albert O to get there with all the mouths they have to feed and Dulcich there to run routes. But it is getting late. I'm fine with Albert O or Daniel Jones. I think either of those are fine.
Okay. Let's grab Albert O. I don't feel great about it, but we do know that like someone's going to rise from that team. And when you're getting the value, like it's pretty late for there. I'm going to go with
Lawrence, yeah.
And Daniel Jones.
Oh, he took Lawrence and Daniel Jones? See, if we thought there was a chance he was taking Daniel Jones, for sure we should have taken him over Albert.
Agreed. I didn't think there was any chance. He had Russell Wilson. Like, I guess I could have looked at the team to see like if he had. I think he's screwing with us. He has no Giants on his team, and now he's just wasting our clock time. I'm going to grab we're going to grab Dotson here, get the value there. Grab another strong wide receiver. Mike Diggs, are you in the chat? Like, see, that's why there's that's the influencer trouble of drafting these. Gosh, I didn't get mad when Jay Frick took our Tunyon, right beforehand as I spoke up about him. That's fine. That was a legitimate pick. But Daniel Jones was a screw you pick. Okay.
We have any other backdoor quarterback stacks?
Well, so there's an interesting aspect here. Do you know who the Giants play in week 17?
No.
It's okay. We can work on that. So, Matt Ryan. kind of best on the board from a QB standpoint. We could always stack with like a round 18 Paris Campbell if we wanted or something.
What about Alec Pierce?
Alec Pierce, who was in Discord about an hour ago in the NFL All Day chat, making the rounds.
Oh, really?
The NFC bros, yeah.
What about Mo Alley?
Agreed as well. We need a third tight end, so that's a strong one. I think someone named Mr. Levitan may have put a tweet out about that within the last 24 hours.
I love Mo Alley. Yeah,
there you go. I mean, you're just gonna say Mo Alley. You're not gonna it's too easy nowadays. Okay, what do we got going on here?
There's plenty more wide receivers too. Let me think about some sleeper wide receivers that I like. I do think Robbie is okay, but
think about the correlation aspects too. So we have 7 wide receivers. We probably are going to grab 2 more wide receivers on this team. At least 1, definitely 2. So is there a Chicago number 2 that we're at all interested in?
God.
Ew. Pringle. Velus, is that one of the ones where you could say like, hey, maybe I'm going to draft Will Fuller because he might end up in Chicago?
We don't have any correlation, but
correlation.
Yeah, I would say Robbie, Tolbert, Josh Palmer. I guess Wendell. If we had gotten Daniel Jones, would you have taken Wendell?
I would have considered it. We do already have 2 pass catchers, but I definitely would have strongly considered it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Tolbert's gone. Yeah. Look at his ADP. He's all the way to 143. That's crazy. Wow. With Washington only being 205, the gap between those 2 is far greater than it should be.
Yeah, good point here from Bullock. Once Levitan has the Week 17 matchups memorized, he's got a hand in his I've had sex card. Exactly. I'm not flashcarding the Week 17 matchups, Bullock. It's not.
I don't know. I think you. I don't know. Maybe just hang out with the son, have him quiz you on some cards, and then you prove that no, I still had it. I still had a child. I still have my card. Okay, we are coming up 6 picks away. We definitely are getting a little QB needy here. I think for our team, Matt Ryan makes the most sense because of that New York Giants Week 17 correlation. Mm-hmm. We do not have any Jets, but we have Seattle. So DK versus Zach Wilson gives you Week 17 correlation. Mm-hmm. Might be able to find a late Jet or 2 that we don't hate as well. Tannehill for Treylon Burks. Yeah, that might be a third QB situation we're targeting.
Mm-hmm.
Even Carson Wentz to go with Jahan Dotson.
We have McLaurin.
Yeah, that's all right. We're feeling good. Who just went? Matt Ryan. That's fine. That's the one we didn't have. Okay. These are both stretches for QBs. Is there someone else that we feel we want to go after, or is like, hey, we need to at least grab Tannehill? Well, okay, we can grab Tannehill next. This guy's got 3 QBs. He's not going to screw us again. Who do you want? Will Fuller?
YOLO. Okay, yeah, I take him, but him and Hopkins together scares me because we could legit get no production. I have 2 wide receivers for the first 6 weeks. It's very possible. But again, betting as if we're right. Will Fuller. We're betting.
We're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Mike Diggs, how much of a bit do you want to make this? Let's go. Take Tannehill. Take Carson Wentz. Take both of them. Like, just throw the draft. Taking the Paris Campbell. Okay. Grabbing Tannehill. We feel good about it. We've got the Robert Woods. That's not our team. We have the Treylon Burks.
We have the Treylon Burks team.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think there's any concern about like Tannehill legitimately losing the job to Malik this year?
Yeah, if they're out of the playoffs or playing really poorly, why wouldn't you want to get a look at what Malik Willis looks like on the field? That assumes that he looks fine in practice. But yeah, I think if they're not playing well, Tannehill, this team is in trouble anyway. So.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Titans look like they're at 9 to 9.5 wins on this season. That puts them at least in contention for the playoffs, but obviously a range of outcomes could end up falling short early.
I mean, the division is so bad that they're always like, as long as they're like trying, they're going to be like in the mix to like win 7, 8, 9 games and be in the mix. So yeah, it's unlikely that they just give up, but they got to find out if Malik is the guy, or because Tannehill's probably not going to be back. So, I mean, they need to find out if it's going to be Malik or if they're going to have to go draft another one.
You're not, well, I mean, I could see that, but I could also see them saying, hey, that's what next year is for. Next year, we find out if he's the guy. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to find out too much in a 4-game, 6, like, how much sample.
The problem is that they're perfect structure for Taysom Hill and he's in New Orleans. Yeah, so to be clear, Taysom Hill is a tight end on Underdog.
Correct.
He's quarterback in other places.
Correct. I don't like it. I have not been doing it. They have Andy Dalton for a reason, but like maybe he actually has value on that team as a pass catcher, and then you have the secondary very, very low probability of the QB situation. You're right, though. There's a bring back.
We're on team play the best plays here, okay, Justin? Everybody else you come on is going to come on with their full 3.9 about the week 17 correlations and everything. We're taking the best plays. I don't think Taysom is one of the best plays.
I agree with you there. Okay. We still think Carson Wentz probably makes sense. We've got that to give us the double stack there. We don't have anyone from Cleveland. That's why, like, maybe David Bell actually would have been a better pick here than Will Fuller. I know we're rushing a little. Could still go DPJ, but I think DPJ is going to be the odd man out from a bad offense if you don't have Watson. But David Bell would have been good for the correlation if we knew we were going to get Carson Wentz, and we already have to do Washington for that week 17.
Yeah. I like David Bell. I don't think they're just going to hand him anything, obviously. And I do think they want to get Amari Cooper into the slot more, and they're going to play a ton of 2 wide receivers. So like, it's not that clear for David Bell, but I do like him in general.
Anything that leads you to believe that Amari will play more slot there? I haven't seen anything there. I guess my thought was David Bell would probably, just from his natural, what we saw in college, but.
Oh, yeah, only if Schwartz and DPJ stay ahead, they can't really play in the slot. And so then Amari has to play the slot more. You know what I mean? But if David Bell can get ahead of Schwartz and DPJ, that's a different story. And I do think that he will. I don't think it's an absolute slam dunk.
Yeah. No, I think that's completely fair. We don't need to get too much into the Watson stuff, but I've been bearish on that and not drafting him. Yeah. I get the upside scenario for if you're getting Watson in the 16th round. Obviously he could be a top 5 QB, but I think that range of outcomes likelihood is very low.
The optics for the NFL, they do not want the optics of Deshaun Watson playing all year. Is kind of my take now. So I'd put it on like 60% right now. He misses the whole year.
All right. Khalil Herbert just went. I was eyeing him. I thought he would have actually been a great number 4 running back for us with the Justin Fields.
What about Velas?
Okay.
Everybody hates him, but they took him in the 3rd round, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think if we did that, we'd probably be doing that in the 18th. Yeah. He's not really being drafted at all, except for because we mentioned him on the show, but that's okay.
We want some guys that aren't drafted at all, right? Isn't that
100%?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that, I don't think he's going to get taken before that.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have Wentz. Might be worth us taking a look at tight end. I think we go Logan Thomas.
God, he really may not play. What about Mo Alley? Get some correlation.
But we have the Washington correlations there too.
I know, the triple stack. When you have a chance to triple stack Carson Wentz, you almost have to do it.
I don't know. There's a lot of Bibles going on there. They're going to pray their way to victories.
To be clear, I would just want to be clear for people. Logan Thomas has ACL, MCL, and meniscus damage suffered in December. There's a chance this dude is in real trouble.
Yeah, but I will look at this too. Like the tight ends behind him, though, it is rough. So we have Carson Wentz up here. But yeah, the tight ends behind him are guys like I haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
I can't even think of what Washington's football team is now right now.
It's like John Bates is their back.
Yeah. Cole Turner, John Bates, Dylan Cantrell. Yeah, guys I've never heard of. And that's where it stinks like Logan Thomas's injury and such. But that position, the tight end position in that Washington offense is so valuable. And so even if he does miss 6 weeks or so, if we can get him back, I think that's very valuable. And we are making a major, major bet on this Washington offense the passing offense being very good. Terry, Dotson, Logan Thomas, Wentz is QB.
I can't believe our quarterbacks, Fields, Tannehill, and Wentz. That is just embarrassing.
Didn't turn out as we were hoping.
Fields, Tannehill, and Wentz. My God.
Oh, almost. That's. I mean, like, it's going to be interesting. Like, what do we want to do with this last one here? There's an argument that you would go 4 QB for this lineup.
Oh God. I don't think we can go 4 QB.
I don't think we go running back. I think we just are set there.
Did James White go?
Let's see.
Like Pierre Strong is probably still there. He probably never gets drafted, right?
James White's still there.
Like if James White doesn't play, and James White has a serious injury, if James White doesn't play, Pierre Strong can be fine.
How much of a stack is too much? I don't know if someone asked this, but I'm asking you because we have J.D. McKissic and Brian Robinson available.
I think McKissick's interesting in this build. We probably can't hurt to get a 4th running back, and he correlates. I think McKissic is interesting. I mean, yeah.
If that, like, we're basically making it bad that the Washington defense is just so bad that they have to throw nonstop, and we're just getting all those pass catchers. The consigliere is not giving this up. Taysom Hill gives you a 4th QB and 4th tight end.
My only take on Velas is that maybe we can argue we need another wide receiver. He won't be drafted at all. He'd be unique if we make it to the finals and we have him stacked and they used a 3rd round pick on him. I know everybody in the world hates him because he's old and his profile wasn't great, but I feel like he makes sense for our team in some ways. But McKissic in a vacuum is clearly way better.
Yeah, no, I like that logic. And I'm all about with these last round picks, trying to get guys that are not drafted. And I think it's interesting, like how some of the dynasty prospect bleeds into best ball. And like a lot of the dynasty is like very, very low on Jones, but we don't care as much about that long term. And like that, oh, he had a late breakout for this year. He's more likely, it's kind of like the Van Jefferson coming in as a rookie where nothing exciting about him, but he was one of the oldest guys in the draft. And one of the most like pro ready to be like, hey, I can actually slot in based off where I was drafted. So I don't hate that at all.
Yeah.
When someone comes and steals our McKissic, we can have that as a fallback.
Winky says, why not Pringle? My take on Pringle is like, if you weren't going to break out with opportunity with Patrick Mahomes, like, are you really going to do it with Justin Fields in Chicago? At least there's some unknown in Velas, and they use 3rd round draft cap on him to be like, hey, this guy I think has a better ceiling than Pringle does. But yeah, what do you think about Pringle versus Velas?
He finished last year actually doing pretty well. Like we started actually seeing him on a lot of our DFS teams last year because he was getting his targets and he was doing some work with them. I think if anything, I'm going to go like, okay, so I think it's probably a coin flip 50-50, but Pringle's being drafted more often. And so that's why I would lean to Velas.
Okay. Love it. I love like sticking into draft Twitter. Not that I have all the respect in the world to draft Twitter, but like nothing made me happier than like trading for Josh Allen in Dynasty and then having him just go completely nuke because everybody on draft Twitter hated him. I hope that it's the same thing with Velas. Like I would love to see Velas actually turn out to be good.
I mean, that was Kadarius Toney, that was Josh Allen, that was Justin Herbert. Like, yeah. It's fun how wrong we are.
Of course.
Pringle was actually drafted 3 picks before us. McKissic was drafted a bit before. I think we're getting our 3-3-9-3 build, if not for anything else other than this might have been the first stream that's ever drafted 3-3-3 at 3 different positions.
Let me check Jack's article for if there's any data at all on this build. If you guys go to the site, Jack has an article called Reviewing the Impact of Stacking. Is that where it is? No. I think it's under, optimal roster construction. Here we go.
So one thing I will say about this is probably the highest EV draft I've ever done, because if this actually wins like with $1 million next year, you get an entire free year of a whole bunch of people drafting 3 running backs the following year.
Okay, I'm looking for, I have 3-3-10-2. 445 people did that last year.
What was that advance rate? Do you have that?
Yes, the advance rate was 12.58% on the 3-3-10-2.
Okay.
I don't think Jack even has it in the article, what we just did. He has like 20 different constructions on here, but not the one we just did.
They always say small sample size, but we say we just haven't proven out the success yet. And
he has 2, 3, 11, 2 in here, which had a 12.82% advance rate. But yeah,
2, 3, 11, 2. Like, what are you doing with those extra 2 wide receivers that you couldn't have put them somewhere else?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. So who was in this draft? I know we've seen a couple names. Post what number you were, and I'll randomly close my eyes and pick one, and we'll do a quick recap on how we think your draft went. All right, let's see. What do we have coming in chat? I'm actually going to go first one. First person that says what it is, we're going to go with that one. For Mr. Berg. Good. The only one I would not have done is if Mike Diggs. So glad you didn't do it, Mike Diggs. Enjoy your Danny Dimes. Okay. Mike Diggs getting Cooper Kupp with the 4th overall. That's strong start. So definitely went with the 3 late QBs. The only person that I dislike your QBs more than ours is you. So that's one thing. But at least you got value on all 3. So we'll give a nod to that. Let's see what you're able to do with stacking. So when I drafted Cousins, when I drafted Ryan, even Mills, like there's not much rushing upside. So I want to have as many of those pieces as possible. So good to see the Nyheim Hines here. Team ETR, we love Aaron Jones. One thing I'm noticing is this person was definitely a value hound. You keep seeing drafting after ADP. So even if the structure is like not the best, just continuing to kind of get value to follow you, I think is great. What do you think about these wide receivers?
He has the Thielen stack going. Team olds on the Thielen stack. Yeah, I mean, clearly using ETR rankings and actually like all these guys are guys that we're ahead of market on almost all of them. Keenan, Juju, Devontae, Sky. We're ahead of market on all those guys. So yeah, just from a personnel perspective, I like that one. I like these wide receivers.
Yeah, so I see some mini stacks. So it looks like Cousins with Thielen, Matt Ryan with Hines, Davis Mills with Nico Collins, and you got a Brevin Jordan to end there with Davis Mills. So pretty much, I think your last 3 picks were all Houston to get that kind of mini stack. So well done to say like, hey, I didn't stack that well throughout the draft. Overall, I'd say it's pretty decent. I think you're pretty unhappy with your QBs yourself. Don't worry, I am too. We'll survive, but you got some guys that at least are on strong offenses. I say that. Minnesota and Indy, we think are going to be not thrown with, but having efficient offenses. So there's some upside. I'll give it a B, maybe a B plus. I'll go B. I think I would have liked to seen a little more correlation and stronger stacks if you're going with these weaker QBs that need positive pass catchers to really have a successful season. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, if it could have gotten Mo Alley. And I would have liked it even more. It popped the PSM on Mo Alley. But yeah, I do think Davis Mills can play, and I like that one. I like it better with Brandon Cooks, obviously, but can't get them all. I think it's fine. I don't really have running backs. God, I think the market is assuming that Spiller is going to have like a real role. Maybe not. 148 is pretty late, but I still think Spiller's in for a battle with some of these other guys, so we'll see there.
Yeah, I think those running backs are I love Aaron Jones. But I think trying to piecemeal together your second running back is going to be a little challenging among these guys. You may need kind of a major injury to Penny, to Taylor, to Eckler, to Sanders to make it. So hopefully you can survive long enough there. Good luck. Hopefully you finish second in this behind us. To the rest, thank you. And I'm going to do Adam's favorite part of the show. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe. Go put a comment down, share with your friends, go outside on a rooftop and yell as loud as you can, spray paint in New York City as the Bored Apes are doing right now. This has been fun. Thank you for joining us, Adam. This is great. Chat, thank you for joining us as well. I will see you all next Tuesday where we have Josh Norris and Hayden Winks from Underdog joining us. It's going to be a blast, and I'll see you all next time.